Hey guys, it's time to return to the How Big series with the last of the big four with Titanus Mosura, or Legendary's own Mothra. This was easily one of the largest versions of the giant moth that we've ever seen, only edged out by the enormous moth kaiju from her debut solo film. With that in mind, it's time to take a look at the numbers for the Monsterverse Titanus Mosura to see just how her imago form stacks up against other kaiju and famous monuments, for us to get a real feeling of just how big the modern Mothra really is. First off, let's take a look at the general measurements for the flying titan. Mothra stands at 52 feet or 15.8 meters tall. Unfortunately, there is no official release on her weight as of yet. A near perfect match for this height would be to size the Queen of the Monsters up with the original King Kong, who stands at 50 feet or 15.24 meters. Keep in mind, Mothra is on her legs here, not that she stands up on her hind legs or anything, but heights can be questionable when looking at multi-legged creatures. Either way, it's kind of surprising that these two can see eye to eye, although I bet that Kong isn't doing it comfortably. The Titan has a wingspan of 803 feet or 244.8 meters wide. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, we finally got to see aerial kaiju fights that were more complex than two suits or props bumping into each other or spamming beam attacks. When the Big G was facing off with King Ghidorah, Rodan entered the battle only to get sidelined by Mothra. It was so amazing to finally see these two face off like this, so let's see how they measure up side by side. Rodan stands upright, so he's taller there with 154 feet or 46.9 meters versus 52 feet or 15.8. But again, take into account the stance. The only other stat we can compare between the two is wingspans, and Rodan is a bit wider at 871 feet or 265.5 meters versus Mothra's 803 feet or 244.8 meters. Even though she wasn't as unfortunate as Rodan to have to take on King Ghidorah one-on-one, let's compare these two while we're here. Ghidorah stands at 521 feet or 158.8 meters tall, but we don't have its wingspan officially yet. But I think it's safe to say that Titanus Mosura is glad to have Godzilla around to face off with the evil space monster. So how about some other more standard size flying kaiju? The biggest Heisei version of the moth was a bit smaller with a length of 65 meters or 213 feet long, with a 574 foot or 175 meter wingspan and a weight of 20,000 metric tons. The next largest incarnation of Mothra would be the one from Final Wars, who stood at 236 feet or 72 meters tall, although I'm betting this number's for length, not height. She also had a 709 feet or 216 meter wingspan. In comparison, the biggest Showa Rodan from the Godzilla Showa films was 50 meters or 164 feet tall, the same height as the Showa era's Godzilla. It also had a wingspan of 120 meters or 394 feet and weighed in at 15,000 metric tons. Getting away from Mothra and other versions of Rodan, let's see how Megaguirus stacks up next to the flying moth titan. Megaguirus is 164 feet or 50 meters in height, over 3 times the height of Mothra. It has a wingspan of 262 feet or 80 meters, almost 2/3 smaller than Mothra's, and it only weighed 12,000 metric tons. The legendary version would be one of the largest versions of the imago form of Mothra, but how would it stand, or better yet fly, next to Hyper Gauss of the Gamera universe? This version of Gauss was 289 feet or 88 meters tall, bigger than every Mothra. Yet it had a smaller wingspan at 623 feet or 190 meters, and was a total lightweight at just 78 metric tons, putting Gauss in a category likely below Titanus Mosura. So what about Mothra's dark moth cousin? Batra would still be a bit smaller at 240 feet or 73 meters in length, with a wingspan of 591 feet or 180 meters, along with a 30,000 metric ton weight. Here's hoping we get to see a Monsterverse version of Batra someday. For one last kaiju comparison, I thought we would take a look at Otachi, the beast from Pacific Rim, who surprised everybody and broke out wings during its final attack, standing at 207 feet or 63 meters tall. There is no wingspan listed, but a good guess is around 500 feet or 152 meters. Still much smaller than Titanus Mosura's, and it was likely way lighter at 2,400 metric tons. And one more measurement which I can't forget would be Legendary Godzilla, who stands at 393 feet or 119.8 meters, standing next to his companion moth Titan. For the How Big Was Titanus Rodan video, many of you said that I should compare the male Muto when sizing up next to flying kaiju like Mothra. Well, the only issue there is that we only have its height and no wingspan. That guy was 200 feet or 61 meters tall, way taller than Mothra, but I would estimate its wingspan at 350 to 400 feet, half that of Mothra's, making me wonder just how that thing got off the ground at its size. While we're at it, let's see how she measures up against some more natural items. The largest pterosaur found to date is Quetzalcoatlus. This flyer was the size of a Cessna 172 private plane at 10 feet or 3 meters long, with a wingspan of 33 to 36 feet or 10 to 11 meters, and a weight of around 440 to 550 pounds. The 747-800 aircraft isn't even a match with a wingspan of 224 feet or 68 meters. Even if we look at the plane with the largest wingspan yet, the Stratolaunch, at 385 feet or 117 meters, Mothra is still wider at 803 feet or 244.8 meters. When on the ground, her wingspan equals that of around 2.2 football fields or just over 2.5 Statues of Liberty. Standing up, she's just 3 feet taller than that famous Hollywood sign and 9 feet taller than the average adult Brachiosaurus, who would stand around 43 feet high. I hope you guys like this entry into the How Big series. I'd love to cover her larval form if we ever get some official measurements. What giant kaiju creature do you want to see next in the How Big series? On top of that, what are some good comparison monsters and monuments that I'm forgetting? Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, your likes, shares, comments, and subscriptions go a long way towards helping the channel grow. Thanks again, and I hope to see you next time.